versus 100 men.
100 men versus one gorilla.
100 men versus one gorilla.
One gorilla stands no chance against 100 fully grown men.
100 grown men with no weapons are not beating a silverback gorilla.
A silverback gorilla can deadlift 1,800 pounds, rip a human arm off with one pull, and has a bite force that crushes bone. But millions of people on the internet believe 100 unarmed men could win. They're wrong. Catastrophically wrong. It started as a simple question on Twitter. Could 100 unarmed men defeat one silverback gorilla in a fight? Within hours, millions were arguing. Experts were horrified, and what began as internet banter exposed something darker about human psychology. Our complete misunderstanding of violence, our inflated sense of capability, and our inability to comprehend raw power. Today on RIZZ, we're going beyond the memes to uncover why this absurd debate reveals uncomfortable truths about masculinity, delusion, and what happens when the internet replaces real-world experience. The numbers are staggering, but most people arguing don't know them. A male silverback gorilla weighs between 300 and 430 pounds. They can lift approximately 800 pounds, nearly 10 times their body weight. Their arm span reaches 8 feet. Their bite force measures 1,300 psi, stronger than a lion's. They can run 25 miles per hour in short bursts, and their muscle density is approximately 6 times that of an athletic human. But numbers don't capture the reality, because when zoologists and primatologists tried to explain why 100 men would lose, the internet didn't listen. They doubled down. And the confidence with which people chose the men revealed something disturbing about how disconnected modern humans have become from physical reality. When the debate first exploded on Twitter in late 2023, it seemed like harmless speculation. A thought experiment. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? That kind of thing. But this one was different because people weren't joking. Polls showed that roughly 30–40% of respondents genuinely believed 100 men could defeat a gorilla. Not in a hypothetical scenario where the men had weapons or preparation. Just 100 average men dropped into an arena with a silverback. And when experts explained why this was impossible, the responses weren't, "Oh, I didn't realize." They were defensive, aggressive, insistent that human intelligence, coordination, and numbers would prevail. The debate revealed something that primatologists and zoologists have known for decades, but the general public has forgotten. Humans are not physically impressive animals. We're endurance hunters. We evolved to throw things and run long distances, but in terms of raw strength, speed, and natural weapons, we're pathetic. A chimp, which is smaller than a gorilla, is estimated to be 3–5 times stronger than an adult human male. Chimps weigh 90–120 pounds. They've been documented tearing off human faces, biting off fingers, and overpowering multiple adult men simultaneously. There are case studies. In 2009, a 200-pound chimpanzee named Travis attacked a woman in Connecticut. Police shot Travis multiple times, and he still fought. The woman survived but lost her hands, nose, lips, and eyes. One chimp, one unarmed human, and the human was catastrophically injured despite immediate police intervention. Now scale that up. A silverback gorilla is 3 to 4 times larger than a chimp, proportionally stronger, more aggressive when threatened, and equipped with canine teeth that are longer than a human finger. Gorillas in the wild have been observed bending and snapping thick bamboo stalks with ease, something that would require industrial tools for a human. They've been documented throwing 400-pound objects, and their hand strength is such that they could crush a human skull the way a human crushes a soda can. But the men arguing for the 100 humans had a response: coordination. Strategy. We're smarter. We'd work together. We'd surround it. We'd grab its limbs. We'd tire it out. And this is where the delusion becomes clear, because these arguments assume several things that wouldn't happen in reality. First, they assume the 100 men would coordinate effectively. Anyone who's watched a street fight involving more than two people knows that coordination breaks down instantly. People get in each other's way. They panic. They hesitate. And that's against other humans, against an animal that's moving with terrifying speed and unpredictable violence. Coordination would collapse within seconds. Second, they assume the men would maintain their resolve. But what happens when the gorilla grabs the first man and rips his arm off? Because that would happen. Gorillas have been observed dismembering prey animals with casual ease. When the first man starts screaming, blood spurting from a traumatic amputation, what do the other 99 men do? Do they charge forward into that violence? Or do they hesitate, back up, reconsider? Every military study on combat psychology shows that most people freeze when confronted with extreme violence. They don't become strategic coordinators. They become terrified animals themselves. Third, they assume the gorilla would tire out. This might be the most delusional assumption. Gorillas in the wild spend their days climbing, foraging, and asserting dominance over their troops. Their cardiovascular systems are adapted for sustained physical exertion in ways that sedentary humans can't match. But more importantly, fights don't work like boxing matches. A gorilla wouldn't need to kill all 100 men. It would need to incapacitate enough men quickly enough that the others break and run. And at the rate a gorilla could inflict injuries, that would happen fast. Primatologists who weighed in on the debate tried to explain this. Dr. Daniel Kress, who studies great apes, told interviewers that people fundamentally misunderstand what a fight with a gorilla would entail. This isn't a wrestling match or match, he said. This is a 400-pound ball of muscle and aggression that can move faster than you can react, hit harder than you can imagine, and won't stop until it perceives the threat is eliminated. The first few men who engage would be disabled within seconds. And once the group sees that level of violence, cohesion collapses. But the arguments continued. We'd go for the eyes. We'd choke it. We'd break its fingers. Each suggestion revealed a deeper ignorance. Going for the eyes requires getting close to a creature with an 8-foot arm span that can swing with enough force to break human bones. Choking requires sustained pressure on a neck that's thicker than a human thigh, protected by muscles that support a head capable of biting through femurs and breaking fingers. Gorillas have been filmed hanging from branches by one hand while supporting their entire body weight. Their grip strength is estimated at over 1,000 pounds per square inch. You can't break those fingers. You'd break your own hands trying. Some brought up historical examples. Humans hunted mammoths with spears. We're apex predators. Our ancestors killed lions. And here's where the debate reveals something about modern masculinity and our relationship with nature. Yes, humans have killed large animals, with weapons, with preparation, with traps. Persistence hunting involves tracking an animal for hours or days until it collapses from exhaustion, then killing it with tools. That's not the same as 100 unarmed men rushing a silverback in an enclosed space, and the fact that people conflated these scenarios shows how far removed modern life is from the realities that our ancestors understood intimately. Our ancestors knew they were physically inferior to most large animals. That's why they developed tools, coordination over long periods, and strategies that avoided direct confrontation. The men arguing they could beat a gorilla have never had to actually test their physical capabilities against nature, and that disconnection breeds dangerous confidence. There's also a gender component that became impossible to ignore. The vast majority of people arguing for the 100 men were themselves men. And their arguments often included phrases like 100 full-grown men, real men, not weak modern men. The subtext was clear. This wasn't really about analyzing a hypothetical fight. This was about defending a concept of masculinity that equates to physical dominance and capability. And when that concept was challenged, when experts explained that no, 100 men would lose badly, it felt like an attack on masculinity itself. This reaction reveals something psychologists have documented for decades. Men, particularly in cultures that emphasize physical prowess as core to masculine identity, often overestimate their physical capabilities. Studies on self-defense show that most men believe they'd perform far better in violent confrontations than they actually would. They overestimate their pain tolerance, their speed, their strength, and their ability to maintain rational thought under stress. And they catastrophically underestimate how quickly trained fighters or dangerous animals can incapacitate them. The gorilla debate became a Rorschach test. How you answered revealed not how much you knew about gorillas, but how you conceptualized human capability, masculinity, and your relationship with nature. Those who chose the gorilla tended to have either direct experience with animals, understanding of biology, or humility about human physical limitations. Those who chose the men tended to have confidence that exceeded their knowledge, faith in human exceptionalism, and often no real-world experience with violence or large animals. And then people started creating simulations and breakdowns, YouTube videos analyzing the matchup, biomechanics experts weighing in, combat sports coaches explaining what happens when there's a massive strength differential. And the consensus among people with actual relevant expertise was unanimous. The gorilla wins. Easily. The only debate among experts was how quickly. Some thought 30 seconds before the men break and run. Others thought maybe 2 minutes if the men were unusually disciplined, but none thought the men would win. Not 100 men, not 500 men, not unless the men had weapons or the gorilla was sick, elderly, or restrained. One detailed breakdown put it bluntly. A gorilla doesn't just knock a human down, it disables them. Broken bones, torn muscles, traumatic injuries that permanently remove them from the fight. And it can deliver those blows every few seconds while moving through a crowd. In the first 30 seconds, conservatively, 10 to 15 men are incapacitated. They're screaming, bleeding, creating chaos. The rest see it happen. Some panic and run. Others try to fight while stepping over injured bodies, losing cohesion. Another 30 seconds, another 10 to 15 men are down. Now maybe 60 or 70 are still functional, many already breaking psychologically. The gorilla isn't tired. By 2 minutes, perhaps 30 men are still resisting, while the gorilla moves with terrifying speed and violence. By 3 minutes, it's over. Anyone still conscious is fleeing. But the debate didn't fade quickly, and that revealed the real story. This was never about a gorilla. It was about ego, about believing human intelligence and coordination can overcome any physical disadvantage, about masculinity that can't accept physical inferiority, and about a generation insulated from nature's violence. You can live your entire life in a modern city without ever testing your body against real danger. You never learn how weak, slow, or fragile you actually are. And without that knowledge, delusion grows. Eventually, the argument disappeared, replaced by the next viral distraction, but it left behind a clear lesson. Humanity's most dangerous trait is overconfidence born from ignorance. The people most certain the men would win were the ones who understood the least about primate strength and human limits. They were confident because they'd never been tested. You will never fight a silverback gorilla. The scenario is absurd, but the debate wasn't about gorillas. It was about whether modern humans can still assess physical reality, or whether we've become so detached from nature that we no longer understand our own limitations. And based on the certainty with which millions chose death, the answer is clear. We've forgotten what we are. Intelligence evolved because we were physically weak. Tools exist because we couldn't compete with claws. Civilization exists because we'd lose in the wild. And forgetting that is dangerous, because the moment you believe you're stronger than you are, you stop being realistic. You become delusional. and delusion gets people killed.